It's hard to believe we're on the 43rd episode, but here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are on the 43rd episode of the God on Monday Talk Show with me, your host, Mr. San Andreas, on this fine Monday. We just keep coming back. But we have a lot to talk about this week, and besides from all the good songs and the usual news, we do have a lot to talk about this week. It's going to be interesting. It's unfortunately not the kind of news you usually like to talk about. There's a lot of, I guess, what's the way to frame it? A lot of political tension in the gaming industry this week, with a lot of employees of major AAA studios deciding to revolt against management for a number of reasons, and most of those reasons being sexual harassment, racism, and I think it was male supremacy, I think was also one of them, and so a lot of different, stuff altogether. This week, but as usual, we'll start off as we always do in a bit of a lighter tone of what games that I played this week. If you played some games and you want to talk about, you want me to talk about, you want me to tell you my opinion on them, make sure to send them on into the Discord, or you can go over onto our Twitter or Instagram and add us over there. But before we get into that, make sure to follow all our social medias if you haven't already, so you always know when the next show is coming up, you always know when the next event is happening. Over on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at the Only Mradio is where you can find us, and YouTube and Twitch at Mradio. I want to be keeping an eye on our YouTube tonight, since we'll have a number of the God But Monday episodes coming back from the last 3 weeks or so going up, but we'll also have our newest episode of Ride or Die, our GTA or P series, going up later on tonight. But anyway, let's get on into the news, shall we? Or, well, my news. What games I played this week? Well, to be honest, I played a lot of games that start with M this week. I'm looking at the list. I played 4 games where the starting letter is M. So I don't know if that's like a worrying thing. I don't know if I'm cursed. But we'll start it off as we usually do. Max Payne 3 is a game I've been playing this week. And I can't say that I grew up with Max Payne. It's kind of, it's a bit of a dark game. I did grow up with Rockstar, right? But I didn't grow up with Max Payne. But honestly, after playing it this week, I'm nearly in love with the game. It certainly takes a dark turn. I mean, like it's not like your regular old game. I mean, there's a lot of action flicks in it. There is a lot of action in it. So I'll say that for anyone who loves a bit of action, Max Payne is your game to go for. But what I also like about it is there's a good bit of in-depth dark story. It's not all kind of lollipops and tooth fairies, to be honest. There's a lot of dark stuff covered in it, from the loss of Max's wife and his daughter, from corruption to greed, to laziness. Max himself's an alcoholic and he's trying to go dry. So there's a lot of kind of tones in the movie that from very early on you can tell it's not going to be it's not going to be another Dora the Explorer game, but I quite liked it. I quite liked the turn it took, the story that I was developed. I love the games and TV shows that constantly make me think about what's going to happen. I remember I was watching Gotham there the other day. I stopped watching it recently, but I need to get back watching it again, and I was watching it. And constantly what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to guess, what's the plot going to be, who's going to backstab who, what's the deal going to be. And I feel with something that kind of gets your head going, something that kind of gets you asking questions, you always know it's good. That's how you know something's good like that. And Max Payne certainly got my head spinning. I was always questioning, who's the guilty party and who's going to be, the good guys and the bad guys, as the phrase goes. But beautiful game. I'd recommend it. My recommendations. The gameplay still holds up quite fine. I think it was a 2012 game, was it? Not too sure. 2012 comes to my head for some reason. So I'd say I'd give it a solid 7. I mean, if anything, I'd probably complain about it is a bit short. I mean, I probably could have played it for a bit longer, but I got to finish really fast, to be honest. Another game I played this week, I was actually streaming it over on my Twitch channel at 80% Honest. It was Mafia 2. Mafia 2 is a game from my childhood, so it's kind of opposite Max Payne. And I always found with like games that come from your childhood, it's always the case where you remember something a lot better than it actually is. I remember I used to love Luigi's Mansion, which is a Nintendo DS game. So obviously I grew up on Nintendo DS playing Luigi's Mansion 1. So, I was like, one day, it's like, oh, it's gonna be goddamn great. It's gonna be fantastic playing this again. But when it came down to it, when I started playing it again, I didn't like it at all. I thought it was pure shit, and that memory was just ruined right there and then. With Mafia 2, I'm happy to report that wasn't the case. I played the Definitive Edition, which is basically, I think it was the 2016 remaster, so it was still fairly new, to be honest, but I never played the 2016 remaster. And if I'm being quite honest, between the Definitive Edition and the Classic Edition, there's like a 6 years difference, and you can't really tell the difference. There's going to be better graphics, but I think they've actually downgraded because of all the bugs. But I honestly, it held up well. A lot of people complain about the Definitive Edition, and I think the main complaint is it does nothing to the game except from kind of take away from it. Possibly in some areas like the graphics, but overall I was happy with it. Mafia 2, it got my nostalgia running, and it also provided some good entertainment. I think I've played 7 hours so far, and probably have a few more hours to go as well. So it's really enjoyable, and for me, the story that Mafia 2 tells as well, it's very interesting. And on the conversation of the Mafia games, I also played Mafia 3 this week. Now, Mafia 3, unlike Mafia 2, got a little bit of harsh feedback, even when it was released. And to be honest, I felt that the minute I picked up the game, from the minute you pick up the game and you start driving the car, you can just feel what the game's going to be like, to be honest. With Mafia 1 and Mafia 2, for the time frames that they came out, they were very advanced. By the time Mafia 3 came around, the open world game scene had shot up into existence. I mean, GTA were crushing it before, but now with GTA 5, expectations for open world shooting games through the roof. Honestly, it was nearly impossible for any developer to get it right, really. So what Hangar 13 had the issue of having this great story. And I mean, no one can take away from Mafia 3's story, because it truly is one of the better story games I've played. But see, the problem was that the world it took place in wasn't that, good. Overall, the game was a difficult one to adjust to. I played my first 2 hours on the PlayStation 4, and I didn't enjoy it at all. In fact, I actually tried returning it, and I did return it. After like 2 hours of playing it, just returned it. I was like, I don't like this. So I returned it. But then a few months later down the line, I got it again for just, no reason at all. Just a me thing, I got it. And I started playing it again, and I kind of got into the rhythm of things. And this time I said, I'll stick with it. And when I stuck with it, I discovered the story, and I started to like it a lot more. So the gameplay, definitely, it's obviously a part of any game. The gameplay is the first thing you encounter. The tutorial telling you how to play the game. So, first impressions bad, but second impressions, they went quite good actually, because I ended up quite liking the game. And when I recommend Mafia 3 to people nowadays, I recommend it solely based on, it will probably annoy the hell out of you. There's some bugs, some things won't work. The world in itself seems kind of lifeless. That's like the most horrible thing you can have in like an open world game. You could really have a crappy game. The mechanics in the game could make you want to jump off a roof. But, a lifeless world is almost worse than bad mechanics, because a lifeless world just feels so empty. It feels like you're not playing a game. It just feels like you're in a sandbox arena, but you can't do anything. You can't make anything. And it's one of the things Mafia 3 suffers from. And the main thing that kind of redeems it, I guess, would be the story of Lincoln Clay and his hunt for justice and revenge of his father figure. And that's all I'll say without spoiling it. But it is quite a good game. It's set, I believe, in the 60s, 70s. Don't think it was during the Vietnam War. Maybe just after it. So 60s, 70s, around there, wouldn't it be? And it's a very interesting game. I mean, the protagonist himself, Lincoln Clay, a good character, lovable character, you can get behind him. The antagonists, very, very hateable characters, which is what you want. I mean, it's kind of what you're looking for. And really, I think there's a lot of aspects of the game that they do get right in some parts. I feel like the aspect of taking over a region, taking over part of the city as you're part of the mafia, so that's, you take control of areas. I feel like they've done that very well. You go through all their little businesses, their brothels, their liquor places, and warehouses, and you take them down, and you take them over, and eventually you can take over larger regions and larger regions and larger regions. I think that's a very good concept, very simple concept, but it was put around good. But simple stuff like driving, was something I found difficult to adjust to. I don't know if it's because I just came straight away from playing GTA, where the driving is very, very smooth and it's very simple. Where Mafia 3, I found things a little bit more difficult. The cars, they kind of had a mind of their own. It's like they were part of the Cars movie. They just kind of wanted to do their own thing sometimes. But other than that, I do recommend Mafia 3, but I also recommend when you play Mafia 3, don't have all these expectations of some masterpiece, little gem in a hayfield. Don't expect that. What you get with Mafia 3 is on a technical standard, you get an average game, maybe even below average in some sectors. But if you're in the game for the long run, with the story, you'll have a damn fun time, because it is a fun game to play, and to understand, to kind of just hear and listen. Sometimes it's like a movie, and if you're in it for the long run, you'll love the game. But if you're just in it for the thrills, I'd suggest you go play Fortnite or something, because mechanically you won't get much thrills with Mafia 3. Another game I played this week was Motorsport Manager. I played this last week as well. I'm still adjusting to it. Motorsport Manager is basically, you manage an open wheel serious team, which it's basically F1 but lower tier, since they didn't get the licensing for F1. And I'm yet to buy F1 2021 for the simple fact I refuse to pay $59.99 for a game that I would probably price at €30, worth €30. I'm sure like the development that went into it, I mean, it's worth every cent of €60. But just to me, I'm not paying more than 30. I got standards, ladies and gentlemen, and those standards are very, very high and unreasonable. So that's the way I look at it. So I've been playing Motorsport Manager, which I managed to get for free, off just a wind of a chance, really. And I've kind of, it's really frustrating, to be honest, because I'll be there, and I remember it's just such a frustrating game sometimes, because it is like, as I was talking about in Mafia, just on a different kind of, the word means a different thing here. It's a very technical game, so you have to really understand how the cars work. You really have to understand what downforce do, what adjusting, the rear wing 22 degrees might do. I don't even know if that sentence makes any sense. But you really have to understand what you're doing. It's like with Football Manager. When I first picked up Football Manager 2019, I didn't understand a damn thing. I just came off like my 10 year of playing FIFA non-stop. So playing a new game like Football Manager, which requires strategy, tactics, and actually understanding the game, it's a lot different to FIFA, where the highest rated player is what's going to win you the game. So with these kind of games, strategy and understanding the process is the most important thing, and it's good for your brain. As I said, if you just put down like that FPS shooter and just pick up a strategy game like Emperor Sin, Football Manager, or Motorsport Manager, just for a few minutes a day, it'll help you a lot. Even like with logistic games like Transport Fever, it helps your mind starting to work. It helps kind of getting the mind booted up. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll boot up like a strategy game first thing in the morning for 10 or so minutes, just to get my brain working on all cylinders. And this morning I played Motorsport Manager. I played it during the week as well. And it's not going too hot, if I'm being honest. So with the open wheel series, there's 10 teams, just as there is in Formula 1. And obviously those 10 teams race through 16 races to gain points. And the top 10 drivers in the races earn points. So the top driver gets 25 points. And then it kind of goes down. I think the next one is 18, 20, and it keeps going down all the way to, I think, 9th place gets 2 points and 10th place gets 1 point. Wait, no, is that it? 9th place, yeah, 9th place does get 2 points and 10th place gets 1 point, and then anything below, because obviously there's 10 teams with 2 drivers each, so there's 20 drivers, so 10 people are going to miss out. Unfortunately, I found myself in the bottom half of that 10 more often this season. There's been 11 rounds so far, and I've managed to get 2 points in 10 races. I'm going into the 11th race of the season. So for the first few races, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just sending my drivers out and kind of praying to God that something beneficial will come of the session. Because my only previous experience was really just with, simple motorsport games or with F1 itself. But as the season's progressed, I'm actually quite proud of myself. We've started developing more parts. We've got a better gearbox. We've got better wings now. We just got in a good front wing. We're developing engines now. And practice sessions have come, I'm starting to understand all that now. I mean, even on our last race, we qualified P6 and P7. I mean, for a team that has the third worst car in the grid, that ain't half bad. Okay, that's not too shabby. That's probably my proudest achievement to date. Unfortunately, the best result we have managed to acquire so far is a P9. And that's it. That's all we have to our name. We've all these great practice sessions. We've all these great qualifying sessions. But it means jack shit if we don't get points in the race itself. I mean, we can look on paper and say, oh, well, we're doing well. There's progress here. I mean, we could be like Williams and not have points for 3 years, but suddenly get points and say it's a good win. And I want to say in Hungary, well done to the 2 Williams cars in the Grand Prix, because that was a fantastic finish for them. I think they even got more points because Vettel was disqualified, which I think is a sham, to be honest. But that's my opinion. I can't get too political on the FIA, in this chat show, but that's neither here nor there. So that's basically Motorsport Manager. We're not doing too hot right now, and that's especially odd since, usually in video games I manage quite well, but in Motorsport Manager it's turning out to be quite the test, and I'm liking it. I have to keep reminding myself this is good, and it's good to be on the losing side for once and kind of see what the other side of the fence feels like. The last 2 games I played this week, obviously GTA 5. I played GTA Online. I streamed it. After about 20 minutes, I managed to load into GTA Online. It took me 20 minutes from the time I started my stream to the time it was 20 minutes. It was actually 19 minutes, I'm being exact. 19 minutes it took me to get into GTA Online, into a server. So for any people who've never played GTA Online, 20 minutes is a hell of a long time to wait. I mean, 6 minutes is a long time to wait. So imagine me sitting there for 20 minutes. I remember in the stream, I'm pulling up my phone and just playing games and just mindlessly commentating on my game that nobody can see but me while I'm waiting for GTA to load in. And then when I got into GTA and actually played the new update, which is the tuners update, which I want to talk about later in the show, to be honest, since I feel like it needs to be shit on a little bit more, because I played it last week. I didn't play it, but this week I have played it, so beware. If you're looking forward to the tuners update, I will eventually shit on it later on the show. I'll make sure to tell you when I shit on it so you know when to leave, but I will ultimately, inevitably, I will take a giant crap on that DLC because it has wasted it wasted 2 hours of my time yesterday. I was streaming, of course, so there was entertainment to be had, there was content to be made, but still at the same time, I wouldn't wish anyone to play that DLC, not even my worst enemy, because eventually I got bored after about 40 minutes, I just got bored. There is like a process with Rockstar where their story games, their base games, they're fantastic, and then the online games is where the money's made. So they make their money online so they can invest it in like all the story games, which is really sad since I I'm subjected to play these games as a streamer. I have to check them out, I have to please the audience, as the stage says, but I didn't enjoy it at all, to be honest. The way I saw it is when I eventually got into the server and popped into my car, I went to the car meet, and the level design, upon first inspection, was it was good. It reminded me of Too Fast, Too Furious, that scene with Paul Walker and Ludacris, and the other woman whose name I forgot, but the song was based on her by Pitbull. That's all I know. It reminded me a lot of like the old Fast and Furious movies. Like, it was street meetups. It was highly illegal, but it was really nice. You saw some good cars there. And then the minute I started talking to like the characters, I started to understand what was happening. So it's all just a money ploy. And that's basically what I understood from it. Is the minute that you get into the server and you go to talk to Mimi, is her name, you have to purchase a membership for 50,000. Now, obviously not real currency, okay? If it was real currency, I'd currently be sitting here with 50,000. I wouldn't spend it in GTA. You spend it in GTA money. And most people have 50,000. I mean, 50,000 isn't that much. And for 50,000, you get to drift around the car lot. You get to move your car. You get to do a load of stuff. Car stuff, basically. But the real kind of money side of things comes in when you have to buy your own auto shop. So it's basically your own bennies, is what you get. Only it's not as good as bennies. So that's what you get, and you get hired into this crew that you do contracts for. If it's sounding a lot like the Blood Money DLC, it's because it's basically that, but in a modern day world instead of the Wild West. And you're just doing contracts. And the whole money ploy comes in as these contracts, they cost money to set up. You need money for the auto shop, you need money for the drift cars, and eventually that adds up to a few million. So what I think Rockstar are trying to do is they're trying to get people to spend money on microtransactions, the real life money in this game, so they can purchase this DLC. And I think it's just a whole sick circle of just uselessness. And the sad part is that a lot of people will spend actual money, and this DLC has probably been quite profitable for Rockstar because everyone loves drift cars. I mean, I've been a long-standing member of the GTA community. I've been playing the game for nearly about 7 years now. I played it a few months after it came out, so maybe even verging on to 8 years now. And if there's something that's always popular amongst the community, is drift cars. And I personally think Rockstar have taken advantage of that interest for their own kind of self-gain. And if they have, well done for finding another money hole, Rockstar. But moving on from what games did I play this week, let's move on to what game would I recommend this week. Okay, so I'm recommending a game which is currently on sale on Steam. So for PC for $4.99, or it might be it's $4.99. It's a game that I personally played. Was it 2 years ago now? So it's a bit of an oldie. You might know it. Rise of the Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider. I think everyone knows who Tomb Raider is. Lara Croft. I think Angelina Jolie was Tomb Raider. I think that's how everyone knows Tomb Raider is Angelina Jolie. But anyway, Rise of the Tomb Raider is a 2016 game. With games, it's just like a wild guess for me. And I know kind of where about when they came out, but I can never tell for sure. But basically, Rise of the Tomb Raider follows Lara Croft, and Lara uncovers an ancient mystery that places her in the crosshairs of a ruthless organization known as Trinity. As she races to find the secret for Trinity, the trail leads to a myth about the lost city of Kiztez. Lara knows she must reach the lost city and its hidden secrets before Trinity. With that, she sets out for Siberia on her first tomb raiding expedition. So that's the description of the game. And I can say, the story definitely isn't as strong as it was in previous games. But action-wise, this game is like the Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel 2015 version of games. I personally was entertained by this game. And not for, the reasons why you might expect. It was just cool, There's some of the stuff that reminded me a lot of Uncharted, although I love both games. It reminded me a lot of Uncharted, where the story is above average, but the action is insane. I mean, there's this one scene in this old Mexican town, I think it is, where there's literally a flood comes through, and you get to go through the whole town on this flood, kind of hopping from object to object, and it's just a really cool scene. I mean, it's just something really cool to be a part of, and it reminds me of some of the really great action scenes that makes the Uncharted series stand out. And it was definitely, with this as well, it was a fantastic game to just, bear witness to. And it does have an above average story. It has a good protagonist. I feel sometimes, tomb raiding isn't probably of priority. A lot of the time you're kind of just out and about. You're just kind of out and about doing your own thing. You're not actually in a tomb. You're not raiding a tomb. You're surviving in the wild, in the jungle. But that's okay. I mean, the combat is engaging. Some of the puzzles were fairly interesting. The graphics were good. It definitely wasn't somewhere where I was kind of transported away, with something like Red Dead Redemption 2. But it was certainly entertaining. And it's a game I would recommend, especially at a cheap price that it is now on Steam. So, in saying that, we're going to go away and for our music break real quick with some Mac Miller. But afterwards, we'll be talking about Assassin's Creed, the New Horizon game, and a hell of a lot of political tension in the industry. Specifically the gaming industry. Anyway, Mac Miller, good news.
Let's see how we do this. Spent the whole day in my head. Do a little spring cleaning. I'm always too busy dreaming. Well, maybe I should wake up instead. A lot of things I regret, but I just say I forget. Or can it just be easy? Why does everybody need me to stay? Oh, I hate the feeling when you're high but you're underneath the ceiling. Got the cards in my hand, I hate dealing. Yeah. Get everything I need and I'm gone, but it ain't stealing. Can I get a break? I wish that I could just get out my goddamn way. What is there to say? There ain't a better time than today. Well, maybe I'll lay down for a little, instead of always trying to figure everything out. And all I do is say sorry. Half the time I don't even know what I'm saying it about. Good news, good news, good news, that's all they wanna hear. No, they don't like it when I'm down, but when I'm flying, no, it make them so uncomfortable, so different. What's the difference? When it ain't that bad, it could always be worse. I'm running out of gas, hardly anything left. Hope I make it home from work, but so tired of being so tired. Well, I gotta build something beautiful just to go set it on fire. I'm no lie, but sometimes the truth don't sound like the truth. Maybe cause it ain't. I just love the way it sound when I say it. Yeah, it's what I do.
That was Mac Miller, good news. I always love a little bit of Mac Miller. I mean, it's not like, Future or Lil Uzi or any of those rappers, he's kind of chill. He just gets you feeling that vibe, if you catch my drift. Anyway, welcome on back to the 43rd episode of the God on Monday Talk Show with me, your host, Mr. San Andres. Well, we're back from our break and we're about to talk to the news. We've 15 minutes left and quite a lot of news to get through. First up is Assassin's Creed has a culinary codex coming, also known as a cookbook. If you're ever wondering how to cook up some of those delicious meals you often find yourself killing in Assassin's Creed, well, worry no further, because the culinary codex is coming your way. And now on to something, well, actually, no, I guess it's not that bad. I guess good news all around. Bungie and Ubisoft are taking cheat makers to court. They filed a joint lawsuit over cheats for Destiny 2 and Rainbow Six Siege. Those usual kinds of cases are open and shut. Those those cheat makers are going to be left out of a lot of pocket and probably in jail after Bungie and Ubisoft are done with them. I mean, with the whole cheat makers thing, those things are usually open and shut, It's just the cheat makers have no choice at all. Horizon Forbidden West is reportedly delayed into 2022, adding to the long list of games coming out then. I think it's going to be a very good year there. Horizon has just had a really good, I think this is their trilogy now. I think Forbidden West is coming in. It's doing fairly well so far anyway. Ubisoft say they're waiting for a real fundamental change at the company before taking any more progress with what they're saying. So this is where the whole kind of drowning news comes. There's been a lot of political tension, as I phrased it. I like that word. I like saying political tension. It makes me sound important and, prestiged. Either way, a lot of staff in the gaming industry, developers for studios, whether they be women, males, they might be of different ethnicities, they might follow different religions, but there's been a lot of discrimination, sexual harassment, racism, homophobia, going on in the industry from senior management all the way down to the janitors, apparently. And Ubisoft staff say they're kind of fed up of it, I guess would be the right way to put it. The Ubisoft CEO says important progress has been made since the 2020 harassment scandal. Yes, you are hearing that correct. This isn't the first time that something like this has happened. It's been happening for years. It's just become more apparent the more media has gotten to it. And media love this kind of stuff, You bet your lickily bottom that the media are lining up outside of Ubisoft HQ looking for a staff member to come out to say something. You just know it. I mean, I can guarantee you right now there's some reporter licking his lips like they're full of sugar after a donut, And Yves Guillemot, who's the Ubisoft CEO, I probably didn't pronounce that right, but I had fun pronouncing it, so that's the important thing, responds to an open letter from employees promising more changes to come. But much like the Bungie CEO, he doesn't address their core complaints, and that's why I think it wasn't Bungie, it was Activision. Sorry, I'm thinking about the last news. The Activision had like a whole walkout. I mean, it was an absolute disaster from a PR standpoint. But it's kind of, it's looking quite dodgy there. And I'm gonna say this right now, Ubisoft. It ain't looking too pleasant over in your park either. If I'm being totally candid with you here, it doesn't sound like you're kind of putting out the fire, at all. Which kind of leaves us to question how Ubisoft is gonna work, because for a company to work, it needs employees. I don't know if much people realize that, but that is in fact the case. So without employees working, they don't work too much, which is the sad fact of the matter. So with all these employees kind of, coming up and about, getting unsettled. How's that going to affect Ubisoft's projects? I mean, they have a lot of big projects in the wind right now, taking over EA's boots for Star Wars. They obviously have the Skulls and Bones thing that's been in development for 8 years and probably will be for another 8 until it gets cancelled. And you obviously coming fresh off Watch Dogs Legion and Far Cry. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to be done there DLC wise. So you've really got to ask the question, how is all this going to affect Ubisoft's projects? And the simple answer is it's going to affect them. They're going to be delayed. Revenue is going to be affected. So Ubisoft upper management is probably kicking its managers in the ass right now for even doing this stuff and not really doing their job and getting control. But it's been stemming from the very start. I mean, I said it before and I'll say it again. This kind of stuff happens. It's sad. It really is sad. I'm not too sure if I'm saying that in the right tone, but it is sad. But it does happen. And with things like this, it's going to affect consumerism. People are not going to get their products on time. There's going to be a lot of money lost, not a lot of money made. And hopefully, instead of everything just going back to normal, and some examples will be took from this. Some learning will be done. Other companies will learn from this. Ubisoft will learn from this. And it will help, prevent a mess like this happening again, because there's no other way to look at it than a mess. It's not a reason to go outside your place of work and hold a sign. It's not a talking point, but unfortunately it seemed to turn into one. It's something that has to be handled, and you have to ask from both sides: is it being handled, or is this being just turned into an attention fest? Either way, we'll find out fairly soon. But Ubisoft employees have said they've had enough of empty promises. And they also offer solidarity to Activision Blizzard. Because they're the ones who had the walkout. And obviously they've had the brunt of the, troubles, I guess, from their employers. And nearly 500 employees signed an open letter calling for an industry-wide action to address abuse and misconduct in the workplace. I really don't have anything to add to this. You could justify both sides, but there really is no point in it at all. There's really no benefit to it at all. So we'll let them squabble over that. Anyway, next up, GTA modders pulled their own 14-year-old project over takedown fears. Grand Theft Auto modders have pulled a 14-year-old mod for San Andreas, that's the GTA San Andreas, thanks to worries of a Take-Two takedown. And the GTA United mod has been around since 2007, originally starting up as two separate projects, one working converting Vice City's map for use in San Andreas, while the other was working on bringing Grand Theft Auto 3's Liberty City map over to San Andreas. GTA United then married the two in one mega project, with a major update following in 2012. The project has quietly existed for well over a decade, but a recent wave of interactive Take-Two Interactive taking down even the oldest of GTA mods has prompted its makers to preemptively take it down themselves, which is always really sad to see a creative piece of art go to waste. But it is what it is, and Take-Two like money, and they don't like money being stolen from them. It's Take-Two. What can you expect? No one really likes them anyway. Forza, this is just really all sad news. I'm hoping for something good to come up on the docket here fairly soon. Forza Motorsport 7 is being removed from sale only after 4 years. Microsoft says the latest Forza Motorsport game has reached end-of-life status. I'll be honest with you here, okay? I'll be frank. I'm not going to lose sleep over this. Okay? I'm not going to whip out the tissues and start bawling because I personally don't like Forza Motorsport 7 at all. Not my piece of cake, and I don't think it ever will be. But at the same time, you never like to see a game get pulled. Being a part of the gaming industry myself, I know what goes into these games. I know how hard it can be to make them. I know how hard studios work, and it's certainly a sad thing to see a piece of art like Forza Motorsport 7, no matter my personal opinion on it go. So I guess it is what it is. Some things can't be avoided. Fortnite will host a series of August concerts concerts starring Ariana Grande and Lady Gaga. Obviously, there's more, but those are the two headline acts. And let's see how that go. I mean, Ariana Grande, she really hasn't had that good of press. And really, she got married, and no one really liked that because everyone kind of likes Pete Davidson, except for the Ariana Grande diehard fans. I'll be honest, I don't really follow pop star artists anymore. I stopped following them. There was a stage in my life where I just followed them to resent them, because I didn't really like a lot of their songs. But being a radio station presenter, you start to get a bit of a bigger perspective and realize how little it actually does matter altogether. Which is what I've realized. So now I just kind of, I deal with the songs, not the artists. Simple as that. It's cool, but it's necessary. Rocket League gets a James Bond Aston Martin DB5. That's right. If you ever wanted to drive around in Rocket League feeling like you've probably drunk a little bit too many martinis and cocktails and while also driving an Aston Martin, well, now's your chance. Aston Martin cars. What a beautiful, beautiful car. I mean, yeah, no, it's just there's nothing really to add on to that. The DB5 especially, man, an absolute classic. No one knows what a DB5 is. Just think of Skyfall or something. Think of the modern James Bond movies. Then you'll realize what a DB5 is. Maybe Casino Royale, I think, had one. I'm thinking of Skyfall, but I'm trying to think back into like when a DB5 was in Skyfall. I think Casino Royale might be the best chance there. XQC promises to be more careful after he gets suspended from Twitch yet again. The streamer said he got live DMCA'd for watching the Olympics during a stream. So I don't know what you expected to happen. I mean, Olympics are very strict on who has the rights to stream their events, but it is what it is, Tough lesson to learn, but a lesson nevertheless. You'll definitely learn from that altogether. What's next up? Oh yes, this is actually very good news. The new blockbuster studio, That's No Moon, is boasting a pool of talent and has 100 million to be cracking on with. There isn't much to be known about the game that it's working on, but many of the developers come from a lot of the popular franchises, including God of War, Destiny, and The Last of Us Part 2, and both the creative director and the game director are previous Naughty Dog leads. So this new studio is looking to be quite good. It comes from a lot of different backgrounds. You got Sony, you got Naughty Dog, you got Bungie. You've got a lot of top people there, and then hopefully it'll come out good. Olympic athlete wins gold medal while wearing a Witcher medallion. So that's it. I guess that's kind of like a promotion for the new Witcher Season 2 coming December 17, 2 days before my birthday. So it's a pretty good gift. For any people hoping to have a party with me, unfortunately, I will not be attending since I'll be watching Season 2 of The Witcher. So, sorry, I'll put that out in an email later on tonight. Facebook is stopping the sales of the Oculus Quest 2 because it might irritate your face. The Oculus is voluntarily recalling the Oculus Quest 2's removable foam face cover and replacing with a silicone one, free of charge. What nice dudes. Very, very nice dudes. More than 1,500 Activision Blizzard employees condemn company leadership and call for compassion for victims. A letter signed by current and former employees says the company's response to sexual harassment lawsuit is abhorrent, and insulting. So that wraps us up for news this week. I am glad to say that I won't miss all the news about intoxicated working environments, but I guess it is what it is, the world has to have some bad news or else it's not the world, I guess. That's just the way it works. But I am quite looking forward to That's No Moon studio. That's going to come out with some good. I can't wait till Deathloop releases as well. I mean, where's that game going? I mean, I've been hearing. I'm just waiting for it now. At this point, don't keep me waiting. Anyway, that was the 43rd episode of the Godwin Monday Talk Show with me, your host, Mr. San Andres. If you haven't already, make sure to check out all the Mradio social medias. That's Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at the Only Mradio, and YouTube and Twitch at Mradio. I've been your host, Mr. San Andres. I'll see you next Monday, and we're leaving you off with It's Raining Men.
And have we got news for you? You better listen. Get ready, all you lonely girls, and leave those umbrellas at home. All right.
It's rising.
Rising.
Problems getting low.
How low, girl?
According to all sources.
What sources now?
The streets the place to
We better hurry up. 'Cause tonight, for the first time, just about half past 10, for the first time in history, it's gonna start raining men. It's raining men. Hallelujah, it's raining men. Amen. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna let myself get absolutely soaking wet. It's raining.